Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this lecture series, today I am discussing two very important laws, that is Pakistan Penal Code 1860 and Code of Criminal Procedure, are said to be the Criminal Procedure Code 1898, and these are included in your syllabus for the forthcoming examinations of civil judges cum judicial magistrate. Let us first understand why I have opted to dilate upon these two subjects of law side by side in one sitting, because of their complementary nexus. Those cannot be read and understood in isolation, having very inseparable connectivity. And that's why your paper 3, these have been referred along with Juvenile Justice System Act to 2018. We will discuss that later on. So, as far as Pakistan Penal Code is concerned, it provides the definition of the offences and the proposed punishment. Although number of total sections in 23 chapters are 511, but to my understanding and for your brainstorming as well, certainly I have to ask and suggest you people repeatedly, in addition to my lecture, you would definitely go through the book, but my purpose is to ease you out in comprehending that law through some tips, through some techniques. So, regarding PPC, wherein some general explanations have been given, those are separately, unlike section 2, which is normally included in all these special laws, either those of civil nature or that of some other special enactment of criminal law, but in separate sections, and those are almost section 6 to 52A, was 50A, 2A later on was through amending section was inserted, is harboring. So, but you will understand on the same pattern and the analogy which I have prescribed to all you aspirants for the forthcoming examination, being a student of law. I myself is student of law. The practicing lawyers and especially those who are interested to appear for the examination of additional district and session judges and the civil judges cum judicial magistrates. But in today's lecture, my emphasis is on to throw light and give an overview of some very important provisions, especially referred in Code of Criminal Procedure 1898. Well, Pakistan Penal Code being general law, as I have said, provides the definition of the offences. Those are contained in different chapters. For instance, the offences against human body, there is a separate chapter. Offences relating to property. When we talk of offences against human body, means causing any injury, causing or attempt to murder, for even causing murder of somebody. But there is a distinction has very beautifully drawn under section 299 and 300, which kind of culpable homicide is amounting to murder and which is not amounting to murder because of the knowledge and the intention, and that mens rea, which is the sine qua non to grasp this aspect of the matter. But these things are scrutinized and examined by the concerned investigating officer at the stage of investigation. So likewise, in some chapter there are pertaining to forgery and fabrication of documents, starting from section 463 onward, even goes up to 4677, 467, 469, different manifestation of fabrication and forgery with respect to some accounts for committing fraud in a very organized manner. There is a chapter relating to kinds, weights and measures. So we will not go in delve deep into that at this point of time. So now, which is very important and for understanding of you people. Well, I have frequently earlier suggested that don't go for cramming. Kindly understand the tenor and the purpose of any law, which we have already even discussed with respect to Code of Civil Procedure, and now we are switching over to criminal law. So normally, consider yourself a common man. If somebody has committed any offence with you, like burglary in the house, cheating and fraud, extortion, theft, robbery, dacoity, these are heinous nature of offences, and those have been defined in the Pakistan Penal Code, whereas in Criminal Procedure Code there is a schedule which indicate that what offences are cognizable in nature and what are non-cognizable in nature. There is a main difference is of gravity and intensity of the offence, which make that offence cognizable, and that is why those have been incorporated in the schedule accordingly. But when we say cognizable, it means in which, when the matter has come into the notice of the police, either at your instance, the agreed person, or on the information of police officer himself. So he can arrest without warrant. He does not need to obtain any permission from the concerned area magistrate. Hopefully, inshallah ta'ala, after a couple of months going through the rigor of this examination and putting on maximum labor and hard work, you will perform your duties as civil judge cum judicial magistrate. But the only bifurcation is that when you will perform your duties as a civil court dealing with civil matters, you will be civil judge. Initially, civil third class, then after some passage of time and on the basis of your good performance, you will be civil second class, having territorial and pecuniary jurisdiction, which matters as we have discussed. But here we confine ourselves to your capacity as a judicial magistrate when you will be dealing with the criminal matters. And mind you, magistrate has got ample powers. He is a supervisory officer of concerned police station as well, which has been assigned to him. He is a magistrate first class. So he has to deal with multiple duties. Those are of very sensitive and significant in nature to alleviate the miseries of the common man. If police concerned is not performing its duties in accordance with law and creating a situation of high-handedness, then first of all, concerned area magistrate is empowered to look into that, to examine that aspect of the matter. Likewise, there are multiple arrangements as postulated in the Code of Criminal Procedure which a magistrate perform. So now when we were discussing cognizable offence, so the aggrieved person will approach the concerned police in whose jurisdiction that offence has been committed by either unknown or known person. If known, so certainly he'll either file a written application on the basis of which under section 154 CRPC, which is relating to common word first information report, FIR, registration of case. After you will put your signature on the same, and then formal FIR shall be chalked out. Or you will just record your statement, which will be reduced into writing by the concerned police officer, and then it would be termed to be the istighasa or complaint. So just after registration of the case, the procedure of investigation starts. And through the purpose of investigation is not only on the one hand to hear the complainant, means God forbidden, if you are the victim, you are the complainant, somebody has committed robbery with you, or dacoity, or theft, or extortion, or has committed some forgery, like you are the owner of some property and he has, by way of interpolation in the record, has manufactured some agreement to sell. So this can be in different manifestations, that regarding your movable property or immovable property. So and to substantiate your version, the contents of that complaint, and which has been now merged into first information report as contemplated under section 154, and during the course of investigation, because there is a complete chapter in the criminal procedure code which is empowering the investigating officer, the police officer concerned, to collect the evidence. So the collection of evidence means if you have got A or B or C, your witnesses who had seen that very occurrence, either committed by unknown persons or known persons, so their statement shall also be recorded because you have cited them in your FIR. Or somebody launched any attack, made firing upon you, when you were hit on your leg, whatever was the weapon, that would also be referred. and their statement shall be recorded under section 161 CRPC. But in the preceding section, that is 160, they will be summoned by the police officer who has been assigned the duties as investigating officer of that very case, which has been got registered by you. So the further process shall carry on. If because of those injuries sustained by the victim, he will be medically examined. If maybe somebody else from your own loved one or friend or relative, and you are just the complainant, you are just the informant, but the statement, if you are just informant, your statement has already been on the file in form of the FIR and the complaint, istaghasa. Whereas some two persons have also seen the occurrence along with you with their own naked eyes. So if they are going to furnish their ocular account, so they will say, I was also along with Mr. C. B will also say, I was accompanying the C who is complainant of the case. Whereas D is the person who sustained injury. So the police will take him to the nearest hospital and shall be medically got examined. And the statement of that doctor who has medically examined that injured shall also be brought on record as under section 161 CRPC. So in the similar manner, and that will also be, that medical report will also become the, likewise if some murder has been committed, and then autopsy shall also be carried on. Investigating officer shall collect the blood-stained earth or any mark or any scratch which is relatable to that very occurrence. Now the things have, are going towards more sophistication and delicacy after the electronic evidence. Now people are harassed, and big scam and frauds are being committed. So now even that electronic evidence shall also be procured, like DNA in murder cases and even in rape cases. So this is a new phenomenon. Now the law has almost changed. And WhatsApp, this Facebook, this kind of email, if somebody has emailed you with the threatening postures, that can also become. But subsequently, when after collection of such like highly sensitive and technical evidence, then it's a forensic test. So this all would become the part of the file, police file. But it's very interesting. There is also a provision under section 172, case diaries. It indicates the conduct of the concerned investigating officers. That, let's say, if the accused has not been arrested, it depicts the file. I have made an effort, I conducted the raid to arrest him because he is required in a cognizable offence in which a police officer can arrest an accused without obtaining the warrant. So in this manner, now if the accused has been arrested, as you have heard, it's a very common feature. Such and such accused has been arrested 3-4 days back, but their arrest has not been effected in the record with some malafide or some days earlier. But some provisions like habeas corpus and those are available under section 491 CRPC and even under article 199 of the Constitution of Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Because the case stand registered, accused has been arrested, then 61 section would come into play. 60 and 61 are relevant. In 60 was arrested, but in 61 it has been clearly mentioned in the Criminal Procedure Code for providing the guidelines for the investigation of the case. by the investigating officer and the concerned senior police officer who are monitoring their subordinates for their discharge of duties strictly in accordance with law, what would happen? After 24 hours, that police officer is duty bound to produce that accused in the court of the learned magistrate. Inshallah, you would be. And then you would apply your judicious mind and you will examine the record and the police diaries. So when was arrested, and even if he complains, the accused, that he was subjected to severe torture, then we can make a request for medical examination as well. You can pass the direction. And if investigating officer make a request in that remand paper, that having the particulars of that very FIR, the names of the complainant, certainly the name of the witnesses whose statement has been recorded, are required to be recorded, because within 24 that process could not be. And let's say it is requested that yet the crime weapon has not been recovered, he is still adamant, he is not admitting, or let's say he is not giving us the clue, the accused, and even let's say if it was a nighttime occurrence, it becomes difficult. All these circumstances shall be taken into consideration, and for that, in collection of incriminating evidence, what type of offence was used, which has been sent after recovery, it would be sent to the forensic science laboratory with the having any correspondence with the empty recovered from the spot, whether this shot with the empty has been recovered from the place of occurrence, was fired from this pistol shot or not, the version of the accused shall be recorded. Then under section 161 CRPC, which is very important, so that physical corporal body of the accused can be kept by the police, but subject to obtaining the orders of the concerned area magistrate. And that request for taking the accused on further remand and keeping him in the police station, and then let's say for collection of evidence, maybe on his pointation, he says that the crime weapon has been kept by him at such and such hideout, at such and such place in my house or friend's house, wherever. So certainly on his disclosure, this mechanism, so that remand can be obtained periodically up to 15 days, with some stint of 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, as the situation may be. If the damage was done massively, number of persons sustained injuries, or even 1-2 persons were killed, if the accused persons are more, his accomplices of that very accused who has been arrested, or all the accused have been arrested. So this is the 167. After 15 days, I'm also discussing with you, there is some variable periods of having the physical custody as far as some other special laws are concerned. You might be, because undoubtedly you are fully associated with this profession as a young lawyer, with your senior, or running your own chamber about special law of NAB, National Accountability Bureau, 1999. And in that very law, which is substantive as well as procedural, although for clarification ambiguities, if there is no special provision has been inserted, then the CRPC, it is mentioned in that very act. Likewise in the Anti-Terrorism Act 1997. for heinous crime of terrorism and for the white collar crime of massive corruption, the NAB law. Likewise, some special enactment of Prevention of Corruption Act 1947, wherein some government official is also involved. That is of Punjab government different, but that is a federal statute. Prevention of Corruption Act 1947. Magistrates have the power. Even in the NAB and although those courts are mainly manned by the district and session judges, but under that very special act, they have been empowered to regulate the remand as magistrates, exercise their powers under CRPC for general law, for Pakistan Penal Code. So there is no, absolutely less importance of the office of the magistrates. But the difference is that in which the maximum period is 15 days under the general law, but in their 30 days and 90 days, at one go, 15 days physical remand can be granted. The philosophy and logic behind is very simple, because those kind of offences are committed by the swindlers and offenders in a very planned and organized manner as compared to the ordinary law. But then the special if some other procedure and mechanism has been evolved which is not applicable CRPC, then the special act shall prevail on that score. This cardinal principle of criminal justice system should always, you must bear in mind. So now we come to the 169, that is the procedure if that has not been completed, the whole remand period, then the accused shall be sent to the jail, which is said to be the judicial custody, and he would no more remain with the police or in the police station for the purposes of investigation physically, because that is why it is termed to be the physical remand. So normally people say physical remand means some torture. It is not permissible under the law. The investigation of the cases should have been conducted and carried on by adopting technical modes, by adopting expertise. That is why certainly police officers are not fully equipped and having proper expertise, or if having, they may twist the things. So then the remedies are available under the police order 2002 regarding defective investigation, and an application can be filed. And that is why section 22 to 25 CRPC, wherein the session judges and additional session judges have been empowered, if somebody has either accused or complainant of the case having serious reservation about the conduct of the police officer, but that remedy is also available under that law, under section 18 subsection 6 of the police order 2002. And if that grievance has not been redressed by the senior police officers, either of the accused or the complainant, against that police official, then their application can be filed. And even if under section 154 CRPC, police is not refusing to register the case, that as a ex officio justice of peace, this amendment was brought in the Criminal Procedure Code back in 2002. And that is, that certainly CRPC is also a federal statute, Pakistan Penal Code is also a federal statute that is applicable in whole the Pakistan. So there are three different kind of grievances. Those can be voiced for redressal before the Justice of Peace, means the Session Judge of the district or the Additional Session Judge, both are empowered to exercise their power in addition to their normal powers as ex officio Justice of Peace. In case of non-registration of FIR, in the if their allegations or contents of the application of the aggrieved person relating to commission of cognizable offence by somebody, any direction, appropriate direction can be passed by the Justice of Peace. Likewise, change of investigation, but first remedy in the police hierarchy, senior police. Likewise, if some police officer is causing illegal harassment to a aggrieved person, although it is not a matter of registration or not non-registration of case, but somebody at the behest of political opponents of that aggrieved person, converting some civil matter into criminal kind of intimidation and harassment, or some family dispute has arisen between the spouses, and wife being very sharp, very shrewd, very cunning, with the help of his brother and father, and she has gone to the police station that he is causing harassment, he is adamant to kill me, even her own husband. So there can be any situation. The parties are having civil litigation regarding some property, but one of them, either defendant or the plaintiff of that case, has also geared up the police officer. Okay, you just call him. Yet case, if the case stand registered, then the other provisions, as we have discussed, would come into operation, and certainly he has to be answerable for his higher authority, and unnecessarily he has registered that case on the basis of the solid allegation, and the prosecution and the complainant has been in a position along with his witnesses, coupled with other relatable evidence. So but there is also 63, no one can be discharged, not by police but by he may write down the innocence, the concerned magistrate may agree or not, and on the basis of that deficient evidence, that remedy is also available to the accused who is in a position to establish that he has no concern whatsoever with any commission of offence. So, in that manner, discharge can also be recommended by the police, and the magistrate is empowered. But at the same time, if after completion of that process, in interim, within 3 days after completion of 15 days, or complete report under section 173 shall be submitted to the concerned area magistrate, notwithstanding the fact that despite gravity and intensity of the offence, which is as per schedule, is triable by sessions judge, by any additional session judge. You can understand the nature of and delicacy of duty assigned to the magistrate. The file would enroute through him, and then section 190. There are also subsection 1A, B, C, taking of the cognizance. It's very interesting. Let me share with you. The word cognizance has not been described in the criminal law. Normally we say that I have taken the cognizance. This word can be used in even day-to-day life. I understand, means cognizant. I am aware of this fact. I am privy to this scenario. But here in cognizance is relatable to that non-cognizable offence or cognizable offence. We are containing ourselves to the cognizable offence on the basis of which FIR has been registered and that remand process has been completed. At 24 years under section 61, then 167 up to 15 days, and after the collection of the evidence, medical or recovery, whatever has been effected from the pointage recovery memo has been prepared, that has also been signed, that is also part of the file. When the report under section 173 is submitted to the area magistrate, so he will scrutinize, he will examine what is the allegation, what is the FIR, where are the statement of, where is the medical evidence if the case is relating to some injury or murder. So that under section 190 on police report, on FIR, the basis of the police report, and even complaint. If a private complaint is filed, there will be no, we will discuss later on, 200, and that police report means police case, warrant case, challan case, then it would be, but he will write down after going to the, but that is also termed to be, normally it is said that cognizance is taken once, but that is applicable if the offence is triable by the magistrate. There is a bifurcation of the offences. Some serious nature of offences like murder and some others, though even of the rape cases, those are triable by the courts of session. But in many chapters of PPC, the offences are triable by the magistrates, magistrate first class. Hoping and wishing for you, when you will assume these, after going through the process of exam, inshallah, you get through, you will be performing these duties and you will monitor the activities of the concerned police station falling within your domain. So, after one night, then it is sent to the concerned. Then again the cognizance is taken after going through the record by the session judge, and the commencement of trial would be initiated, because we are discussing the stages of the trial, but along with the investigation. Trial is never termed to be or construed to be, investigation is not the trial and inquiry is not the trial, maybe the judicial proceeding to the extent of inquiry and the trial. But this is not having any relevance. CRPC provides a mechanism, as I have referred earlier, of different stages. There are even preventive provisions of lot many, like 133 and 144, urgent in nature of removing some nuisance by disputes pertaining to immovable property. There is a probability of breaking out of violence between two group of people. One says this is my plot, this is my house. The other one says they are armed and they are loggerhead. They have developed great hostility, and that's why the magistrate is empowered under section 145 on the, if some report is submitted by the police officer that there is a possibility of serious breach of peace. So that's why an article that section 145 stipulates dispute pertaining to immovable property. The property can be sealed, but the whole mechanism has been given. How long it would, that sealing would continue, or if the matter has already been pending as well in the civil court for resolving that civil dispute. This is a separate issue. This is because it is part of the criminal procedure code, that is why, and empowering the magistrate. So there is another very, somebody, have you heard about, summon cases and warrant cases?